Hey friends, this is your host Rodrigo, and today we're going to see the conversation building block. And this is the last session of the series. It's been a wild ride since December, and you have to take into account that all the different sessions are recorded, and you can find those in the CSharp.com website. And say that you want to, I don't know, you want to continue your journey with Dapr, there's of course a lot of different videos and training courses that you can find online. And okay, that's it. Let me share my screen, which is number 2. Okay, cool. Awesome. Let me start the presentation. So the conversation building block allows you to interact with LLM providers, right? Such as OpenAI, Claude, or all the different models that you can use in Hugging Face and so on. Okay, so this is a way for you to call those LLMs. Basically, that's it. Take into account that this is in an alpha state. So all the things that I can show you today, maybe they'll be changed in the future. Okay. So let's go ahead and see the diagram, which is this one. And you can see that as any other building block, you have your sidecar. The sidecar is the one responsible for calling the component, of course, and the component is the one that is configured for a specific large language model and provider. Okay, today I'm gonna show you OpenAI's, and of course you can use the same techniques and skills for any other model. Okay, so this is nice. I like the conversation building block, the way that the Diagrade and the Dapr community are thinking about it, since you can have some features that are not available in other frameworks. For instance, prompt caching, that's available in other frameworks as well. But with prompt caching, it allows you to reduce costs and latency by caching the prompts that are regularly sent to the LLMs. This is when you have a specific prompt that is recurrently being sent to the LLM, that prompt is going to be cached. Okay. So, of course, that's going to reduce cost and latency. That's nice. So, on the other hand, we have the PII obfuscation. This is personable identifiable information. In other words, sensible or private information that you want to obfuscate, you want to hide when you're sending that data to the LLM, and the other way around as well. When you're receiving information that has PII, this particular building block is going to obfuscate that data, which is very nice. I think that approach is interesting. And of course, just like any other building block in Dapr, this integration with large language models are being observed, and everything is going to be traced by using the observability features that Dapr has, which is quite fantastic, right? So let's go ahead and see what we can do with this. Okay. Let me go to the Dapr in action folder, and then this is the 13 folder, since we are today in this 13th session. And of course, I don't have anything. I just created the folder some minutes ago. So let's go ahead and create a new web API by using ASP.NET. And let's name it conversation. So .NET new web API, conversation, and let's use controllers. You know me, I don't like minimal web APIs. So regular controllers, and the name is going to be conversation. And basically that's it. Okay. So for this building block, there's a NuGet package that you can reference for calling the API. Remember, the sidecar, your sidecar that is running alongside your application, is exposing an API that you can call by using HTTP or gRPC, and you're free to, call that endpoints in any way you like, right? You can, for instance, if you are a C# and .NET developer, you can create your HTTP client and then client dot, post async or get or put or those kind of things. However, Dapr has fantastic SDKs that we can use, and .NET is one of the platforms that are supported in Dapr. And for this particular conversation building block, there's a specific NuGet package. This is not your regular Dapr.asp.NET Core NuGet package. So the name, let's change the folder to here. The name is Dapr.ai. Unsurprisingly, I think. Okay, so I'm using .NET as package. Of course, you can use Visual Studio's NuGet add package reference. But since I'm here in the terminal, I just want to show you how to add this NuGet package. Dapr.ai version 1.15.2 at the time of this recording. And we can go ahead and verify conversation.csproj, and the package reference is there. There's nothing new, right? Okay, so now let's create a new solution, and .NET solution add the current project, and we're ready to rumble. Conversation SLN, and I'm gonna open my Visual Studio 2022 instance. Since you know me, I'm a Visual Studio fanboy. Of course, I use Visual Studio Code from time to time, but I truly believe Visual Studio is better and is superior to Visual Studio Code. But of course, we can disagree, right? You can disagree with me. You can even be using other languages or frameworks. That's fine. So just like you're expecting here, you have to add the Dapr client. But that's not the regular Dapr client. Actually, the name is different. Builder services, Dapr conversation client. Okay, this is the one. So with this line of code, you can inject the Dapr conversation client in your controllers. And you can even add some configuration here. You can pass this, this expression, an action, and this Dapr conversation client builder for setting up some things. And I'm gonna use the defaults. I don't want to focus on those details right now. I just want to show you that this is the way for injecting the Dapr conversation client. And let's get rid of this nonsense weather forecast controller. And let's rename this to, say, chat controller or conversation controller. Okay? This is good. Now, using the primary constructor syntax, I'm going to inject Dapr client, Dapr conversation client. Okay? This is the one. Dapr conversation client. And of course, it has some methods and members that we can use for invoking those LLMs. Which LLMs, you may ask? Well, of course, we need the component. We need to create the YAML file for sure. So let me go ahead and open the browser, and then developing applications, building blocks, and then conversation. And conversation overview, of course, you can read more about this, about the features, what kind of information is considered private or sensitive information, such as phone numbers, email addresses, and so on. It makes sense, right? And let's navigate to those components. You can see that AWS Bedrock is there, Anthropic for calling Claude, or those fantastic LLMs is there, Anthropic. DeepSeek is there. DeepSeek, such a fantastic and glorious LLM, very interesting. Hugging Face, Mistral, and of course, OpenAI. And that's actually the one that I want to use today, OpenAI. And you can see those required values. You know, those fields that you can specify. The required one is key. That's the only one that is actually truly required. API key for OpenAI. Okay? Take into account that this is an alpha version, okay? Because it doesn't say anything about an endpoint. So there's no Azure OpenAI option right now. Of course, Dapr is open source. You can contribute and create a component. Even if you don't contribute, you can create your own components. Anyway, today I'm going to use the regular OpenAI API, the one from openai.com, not Azure OpenAI, that is located in the Azure AI Foundry umbrella in Azure. So the key, I have my key. I created the key beforehand because I don't want to spend so much time in that. So I have the key, and the model, the default is going to be GPT-4 Turbo. But there are other, I think, better models that we can use, such as 4.0, 4.0 Mini, right? It depends on your requirements. But today I'm going to use GPT-4.0 Mini. I think it has the perfect balance between cost and performance and logic and reasoning. So GPT-4.0 Mini and Cache TTL, this is the time to live value. Remember that I told you that those prompts that you send to the LLM are going to be cached by the building block. So this is the cache time to live duration. Okay. The default is 10 minutes. Okay, cool. So good. I think I'm just going to copy this and return here. This is my application, and this is my folder. Let's create components, and let me go ahead and open a Visual Studio instance here. Let's name it conversation.yaml. Let me close those panels, those pop-ups. Yeah, I know. Okay, cool. So I'm going to paste this. So API version, kind, metadata, and spec, those are expected, right? Dapr.io, B1 Alpha 1 is the API version. The kind has to be component. And this is the name. Remember, I told you like 1,000 times, this is the technical name that you want to use, that you have to use in your application. So let's name it conversation. can be called, I don't know, OpenAI or so on. This is just the name that I'm going to use today. And the type, the technical type is conversation.openai. Okay, this is the type for calling those models. And the key, I happen to have my key right here. Please allow me to copy this. And I'm gonna copy the entire string. Okay, this is my key. Let me show you where you can get that, openai.com. I'm in this other monitor, so bear with me. This is gonna be fantastic. So openai.com, and then API platform login, and I'm here. Yes, I'm here. So I just logged in, and you can go ahead and see your API keys right here. And of course, you have to have enough balance. Okay, I have $10, and API keys. This is the one, Dapr in action, that I created beforehand. And this is the one I'm going to use. This is it. Okay. So model, it's going to be GPT-4o mini. You can always go ahead and search for openai.com models. And in this page, you can read more about those different models that OpenAI has. Okay. So many. At the time of this recording, those are the ones. And finally, cache time to live. This is fine. So this is it. Okay. Let's go back to the application since I want to use Dapr Conversation Client. Of course, I need to create an endpoint. So public async task, let's say iAction result. Let's name it chat. Okay, this is going to be HTTP post. And what about creating a record? Chat request, similar to this suggestion from Copilot. But instead, let's name it message. So I have my record. This is the chat request. Chat request, right? It comes from the body. This is just a regular ASP.NET Core endpoint. Nothing new here. So Dapr Conversation Client you can see that we have converse async. Okay. So converse async takes the component name, or some unsurprisingly, right? This is conversation. And then you have to pass this iRead-only list of Dapr conversation input. And then, so this is an iRead-only list because you want to send the entire conversation history to the large language model if you want to do that, right? If you want to keep those messages, or if you have to, specify the system prompt, and then maybe you want to use a few shot learning technique by using the assistant role and then your prompt itself. Make sense? So that's why that's an iRead-only list and not only a string. And so let's pass a new Dapr conversation input. I'm going to pass request message. I'm going to pass the human. You can see that this is an enum, system tool, human function. Interesting. I think the team is thinking about function calling and, of course, agents. So maybe in the next version, we're going to see those features in the Dapr conversation building block. So, okay, human, and I think that's it. What else? Oh, if you want to scrub the private information, as you can see, this is false. You can pass through, and that information will be obfuscated. So let's return something, and now wait for this. And remember, this is my I read only. I'm using this syntax from CSharp 13, and I think that's it. We have outputs, which is an I read only list of Dapr conversation result. And this is Dapr conversation input. I don't like the name. Conversation input, Dapr conversation output. So maybe that's one of the things that I could say to the team. Dapr conversation input and then result, for me, doesn't make sense. It should be named Dapr conversation output. Anyway, so result.outputs, I think that is the one that I want. And we also have this conversation ID, which is quite interesting, since you want to sometimes store all the different messages in a single thread, right? Like the assistance API that OpenAI created. But in this case, I'm just going to return, let's say, the outputs, just like this. And I think we're ready to go. Okay? Okay, cool. So I think we're ready to test this. I'm ready to go ahead and return to the terminal. And let's go here and let's use Dapr run. Just like any other application that we created in this series, Dapr run, and then the application ID is going to be conversation app or something, conversation app, and then Dapr HTTP port. I want to use 55,000, and then a port. I want to be using this 5500. You know me, I always use that port. And components path or resources path, you need to pass that, okay? Remember that the component is located in this folder. And you know what? Let me change the folder to this conversation project, because otherwise I have to tell .NET Run to use that folder, but I don't remember the syntax right now. And so components path, it's going to be components. So .NET Run, and then URLs, HTTP, and it's going to be 5500. So let's go ahead and execute this. Remember, I'm using components path, but that path. Okay, so this is running, right? So let's, I don't know, let's use curl, or you can use Postman, or I want to use this conversation.http file that most of the time we're ignoring. But this is so helpful, since you can send those requests to the endpoints right here, and you have that in source control. So 5500, and conversation is the endpoint. And I want to use content type application JSON and message, right? Message is going to be hi. or something, right? For instance, let's send a helpful prompt, such as what are the largest countries in the world? Okay. So you can see that you don't need to be executing this project. You don't need to be debugging the application. You can send the request right away. So method not allowed, of course, because this is not a get is supposed. Sorry about that. Send request, and then the largest countries in the world by total area are Russia and Canada, China, the United States, Brazil, and so on. So this is very helpful. And you can see that OpenAI is the one that is responding. Specifically, GPT-4o Mini is the one that is responding. Okay? Very, very helpful. And I wonder about Dapr II. So let's do the following. Let's see what we can do here. So converse async. It has the Dapr conversation, component name, inputs, and then options. Okay, options. New, what we have here. Let's see, conversation options. There's nothing in the static world. So new conversation options. And I can pass, okay, I can pass a conversation ID. Very useful if you want to do something like, you know, threads, or I don't know, chat, and then threads, right? And then thread ID, and use that thread ID right here, and pass that thread ID to this conversation options object. So that's the idea. What else we have here? Conversation options. I think that's the only thing that we have today. Remember, this is an alpha version of the component. And so conversation inputs. So here in inputs, you can specify that scrub PII. Let's turn it into true. Represents an input for the Dapr conversational API. If true, scrubs the data. Okay. So I think we're ready to test this. Let's see what happens. Dapr on again, and let's go back and create another prompt. And I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. Let's return. What's the distance between one Microsoft Way, that's an address, in Redmond, Washington, and I don't know. Let's see. And the Safeco, is that the name of the stadium? In Seattle. So let's see. The distance between one Microsoft away. So it's not obfuscating. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, right? So I don't know. Let's try another thing. Change this personal information to uppercase. My name, just like this. I want everything in uppercase. Let's see what's going on. And send a request, and it's not obfuscating. Yeah, I think something is missing in my code. I'm setting this personal identifier information property as true, And if true, scrubs the data that goes into the LLM. Yeah, maybe I'm doing, and this is not the correct demo for scrub PII. Anyway, we have that there, and it's very useful. We can refer to the documentation. Anyway, I want to go back and keep this prompt that I was sending beforehand. Okay. And I think that's it. And you can see that the conversation building block is quite useful. But of course, it's in an alpha state. If you want to build something more robust or, I don't know, production ready, maybe you can use this. Don't get me wrong. I think it's fantastic. But maybe there are other frameworks more capable with more options if that's your goal. And of course, we need to keep on looking for those changes in the Dapr conversation building block. And let's wait for the team and the community to evolve and continue polishing this component, which is fantastic. I'm very excited to have this in Dapr for some things, some practical things. But of course, from a enterprise point of view, maybe I would use something else, such as semantic kernel or other framework. Anyway, this is great. This is fantastic. Great work in the Dapr conversation building block. And you know what? This is the last session of the series. I'm so happy that we made it through the end. And if you made it to the end as well, congrats. I'm sure you know more about Dapr than when you started back in December. And some shameless plug, I have some courses about Dapr in LinkedIn Learning that you can use. And I'll be continue creating Dapr content. And just take that into account. And I think that's it. And this is it, friends. This is it. And thank you very much for the CSharp.com team and the entire crew for having me. 13 sessions. Today's over. And keep on creating fantastic applications with Dapr. And happy coding, my friends. Okay? See you next time.